What if 3 simple phrases you repeat every day are quietly draining your income and your potential? I know that sounds impossible, almost absurd, but let me ask you, when was the last time you truly listened to the words that leave your mouth? The ones you say out of habit, not intention. Those words have been shaping your world long before you even noticed. I want to make a small request before we go deeper. In the comments, write one phrase you often say about your life, your work, or your money. Maybe it's "I'm fine," or "I'm doing my best," or "I can't complain." Don't overthink it. Just write it. Because when you pull your words out of the shadows, they begin to lose their silent power over you. You'll soon understand why that simple act is more significant than it seems. Here's the truth. In the next 72 hours, your language could either start unlocking new channels of abundance or keep you stuck exactly where you are. Every phrase carries energy, direction, and command. Most people speak without realizing they're giving the universe instructions to either expand or limit their blessings. And the worst part? The phrases that hold us back are the ones that sound polite, balanced, even humble. I didn't always believe this. Years ago, when my business was struggling, I blamed the market, the timing, the economy, everything outside myself. Then, in an old book of Jewish wisdom passed down in my family, I found a single sentence that shook me. Words create worlds. I didn't fully understand it then, but I felt its truth. Over time, I began to see patterns, how the way I spoke about money shaped my relationship with it. Every "I'm fine" was an invisible wall. Every "I'll try" was a closed door. You see, in ancient Jewish tradition, speech isn't just communication, it's creation. Every utterance carries spiritual weight. That's why blessings are spoken aloud, not whispered in thought. The moment you speak something, you invite it into being. That's not metaphorical poetry, it's law. A law older than money itself. So when you say, "I'm fine," the energy hears, "I have enough. I don't need more." When you say, "I'm trying," it hears, "I'm not there yet, and maybe I never will be." When you say, "It's okay," it hears, "Stay exactly as things are." We think we're describing our lives, but in truth, we're prescribing them. I know how tempting it is to dismiss this as spiritual talk, but I've watched it play out, again and again, in people's lives, in my own life. And today I want to show you the 3 phrases that almost everyone uses, without realizing how much they cost. Each phrase looks harmless, each sounds ordinary, but together they form the invisible cage keeping your income where it is. Let's start with the first one. It's so common you might have already said it today, without knowing its power. In Jewish thought, words are not sounds. They are seeds. Every syllable carries the potential to create, to bless, or to block. The world, according to the Torah, began not with an explosion or an accident, but with a voice. And God said, "Let there be light." Words were the first tools of creation, and they remain the most powerful instruments we possess. This belief runs deep in my family. My great-grandfather, Moshe, used to tell me that every word we speak plants something in the invisible garden of our lives. Some words plant trees of blessing, others sow weeds of scarcity. When I was young, I didn't understand him. He would pause before speaking, even in casual conversation, as if his tongue carried sacred fire. Only years later did I realize he wasn't being slow, he was being deliberate. He once told me a story. During a period of hardship, he lost everything: his shop, his home, even his sense of purpose. And yet, he refused to say the words, "I have nothing." Instead, he would whisper, "I'm being emptied to be filled again." Within 3 days, an old friend offered him work. Within 3 weeks, he had started anew. Words, he told me, don't describe your life. They instruct it. That sentence became the foundation of how I see reality. It's not about superstition, it's about alignment. Language is the bridge between thought and manifestation. What you call, you summon. What you affirm, you feed. And what you deny, you starve. Most people think financial growth depends on skill, luck, or effort. Those things matter, yes, but underneath them lies a deeper architecture. The words we repeat every day, are like the blueprint that shapes everything else. You cannot build a palace with the vocabulary of poverty. You cannot open new doors with the language of resignation. And here's the subtle tragedy. The most limiting phrases often sound innocent. I'm fine. It's all good. I can't complain. They seem peaceful, mature, balanced. But in truth, they are verbal handbrakes. They signal the universe, and your own subconscious, that growth is no longer necessary. Think of it like this. If a cup is full, you stop pouring. If the soil says, I have enough water, the gardener stops watering. That's the spiritual law. In the unseen dimensions of creation, your words are declarations of capacity. The moment you say, I'm fine, you silently close your hand around the blessing trying to reach you. And yet there's beauty in this realization. Because what words have built, new words can rebuild. You don't need to undo years of limitation. You just need to start speaking differently today. The mouth that closed the door can also open it. But before we change the language, we must see clearly what's broken. The first phrase is the most seductive because it hides behind kindness and calm. It sounds like peace, but it breeds stagnation. Let me show you what happens the moment you say, I'm fine. Something went wrong while generating the response. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help.openai.com. The first phrase is, I'm fine. It rolls off the tongue so easily, doesn't it? A shield, a habit, a way to keep conversations light. But beneath its surface lies a quiet danger. It convinces both you and the universe that nothing more is needed. It freezes growth in the name of politeness. When you say, I'm fine, you're not only communicating comfort, you're declaring completion. And in the language of creation, completion is closure. Spiritually speaking, you've told life, I'm full. Don't send more. You've shut the gate while pretending it's still open. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, after a small promotion, I kept telling people, I'm fine, I'm content. I thought I was practicing gratitude, but slowly, everything began to stagnate. Clients stopped calling. Projects felt dull. Even my energy sank. It was as if life itself had gone still. I couldn't understand why. Until I remembered my great-grandfather's words. Never confuse peace with pause. The truth hit me like cold water. My words had declared a false peace. I wasn't fine. I was afraid. Afraid to want more. Afraid to seem greedy. Afraid to admit that fine was not enough. Saying I'm fine was safer than saying I'm ready for more, because the second required faith, movement, vulnerability. From a spiritual view, that phrase carries a hidden vibration. In Hebrew mysticism, sound is energy, and energy obeys its source. I'm fine carries the energy of stillness, not the peaceful stillness of meditation, but the stagnant stillness of denial. The sages warn about this. When the vessel believes it is full, the flow stops. The blessing seeks empty hands, not closed fists. It's like water in a jar. If you fill it to the top and seal it, the water grows stale. Life, too, demands circulation, gratitude mixed with openness. The moment you say, I'm fine, you stop the current. Psychologically, it works the same way. Your brain, always seeking efficiency, listens to your words as commands. Say I'm fine often enough, and your subconscious decides there's no need to strive, no need to create new solutions. Your curiosity fades, your ambition rests. You unconsciously lower your expectations and life responds in kind. I once met a man named Daniel. For years he told everyone, I can't complain, and he didn't. But he also didn't grow. His income stayed flat, his joy dimmed. When he finally changed his phrase to I'm growing stronger every day, everything began to move again. He didn't become greedy, he became alive. So ask yourself honestly, how many times have you said I'm fine when you weren't? How many opportunities did that small phrase quietly turn away? How much abundance has it blocked, simply because you told life you didn't need it? Don't judge yourself for it. Just notice it. Awareness breaks the spell. Because once you see how the phrase works, you can begin to replace it. But first you need to understand why that small sentence carries so much weight. both spiritually and psychologically. In the Talmud, there's a line that says, "Be careful with your words, for they create the vessels that hold your blessings." The first time I read that, I felt something awaken inside me. Words aren't decorations, they are containers. The way you speak defines how much abundance you're capable of holding. The phrase "I'm fine" might seem harmless, but in the ancient language of wisdom, it signals fullness, a state that leaves no space for divine flow. In the spiritual economy, fullness isn't success, it's stagnation. Only emptiness, humble openness, can be filled again. When you say "I'm fine," you unknowingly tell the universe, "My cup is full, I'm not available for more." Imagine pouring water into a glass already filled to the brim. The water spills, not because the source stopped flowing, but because there's no space left to receive. The same happens with money, ideas, opportunities. Blessings overflow and are lost, not because you're unlucky, but because your language has told them there's no room to stay. In Jewish mysticism, words are not only communication, they're energy forms. The Hebrew letters themselves are seen as spiritual building blocks, vibrating with creation. Every word carries a numerical value, a spiritual resonance. So when a person repeats "I'm fine," that vibration repeats too, a signal of closure echoing into the unseen. Now let's translate this into everyday life. Think of all the moments you use those two words. Someone asks how business is going and you say, "I'm fine." A friend asks about your dreams and you say, "I'm fine." You might even say it to yourself in the mirror. In each of those moments, you're choosing comfort over expansion, safety over growth. And though it feels small, it sets a boundary around what you allow yourself to receive. The shift begins when you recognize that language is not reflection, it's direction. Saying "I'm fine" is like turning a steering wheel slightly toward stillness. Say it enough, and you'll find yourself parked in the same place year after year, wondering why the scenery never changes. So here's a question for you to sit with. Where in your life are you saying "I'm fine" without meaning it? Where are you pretending to be content when your soul is quietly asking for more? It might be your work, your finances, your relationships, even your health. Take a moment to trace that phrase to its roots. This isn't about rejecting gratitude. It's about separating gratitude from resignation. Gratitude opens your heart. Resignation closes it. The line is thin, but it defines the difference between peace and paralysis. Be gentle with yourself as you notice it. Awareness is the first step to change. The moment you see the pattern, the spell begins to break. Because the truth is, life doesn't stop offering. We just stop asking. And that brings us to the second phrase, one even more deceptive, because it disguises pride as progress and comfort as victory. The second phrase is, "I've arrived." It sounds confident, accomplished, even victorious, but it carries a hidden cost. Beneath the tone of pride lies a subtle surrender, a quiet invitation to stop moving. It's the language of rest disguised as resolution. At first, saying "I've arrived" feels good. You've worked hard, overcome struggles, reached a milestone. You deserve to feel proud, but if you linger there too long, the phrase begins to harden. It tells your mind, your spirit, and your destiny, the journey is over. You've crossed the finish line. And once your inner system believes the race is finished, all movement stops. I've seen this pattern in countless lives, including my own. There was a time when I believed I had finally made it. I'd built a stable income, gained recognition, felt secure. For the first time I could breathe, so I said it, out loud, to friends, to family. I've arrived. But over the months that followed, something strange happened. Opportunities grew thinner. My creativity faded. I wasn't being tested anymore, I was being still. I thought peace had come, but in truth, progress had left. I had mistaken a resting point for a destination. There's an old proverb that says, "A crocodile that sleeps becomes a handbag." It's crude, but the wisdom behind it is sharp. Stillness attracts decay. When we stop evolving, life begins to reclaim our energy, redirecting it elsewhere. The world rewards movement, not mere survival. Spiritually, the phrase "I've arrived" carries another layer. In Jewish thought, creation is continuous. God is still speaking the world into existence. That means you and I are still being spoken into growth. The moment we declare ourselves complete, we step out of that divine rhythm. We separate ourselves from the ongoing flow of creation. Psychologically, it's similar. The brain, ever efficient, seeks stability. The phrase "I've arrived" sends a message. The mission is complete. So the brain begins to conserve energy, shutting down curiosity, reducing alertness, softening drive. You might still go through the motions, but the spark of hunger fades. I once mentored a small business owner who said those exact words after reaching his financial goal. "I've arrived," he told me, smiling. 6 months later, his sales dropped by 30%. Not because of bad strategy, but because his words had shut off expansion. His clients could feel it, subconsciously, energetically. He wasn't growing anymore, so neither was his business. The truth is, no one ever fully arrives. Every milestone is only a midpoint in a larger journey. When you replace "I've arrived" with "I'm still becoming," everything changes. Your words reopen the gates to evolution, to creativity, to new streams of income and insight. Life honors the student, not the settler. But there's one phrase even more dangerous than "I've arrived." It sounds humble, almost holy, but it quietly kills the flow of blessing faster than any other. The third phrase is, "I don't need anything else." It sounds peaceful, almost spiritual, a statement of humility, of contentment. But beneath its calm surface, it hides the most dangerous illusion of all, the belief that desiring more is wrong. I've heard people say this with pride, their voices soft and noble, as if detachment were the highest form of wisdom. "I don't need anything else," they say, and for a moment it feels enlightened. But in truth, this phrase can quietly strangle your growth. It doesn't only shut the door to material increase, it closes the door to life's own rhythm of expansion. In ancient Jewish mysticism, there is a teaching that the universe was created through Tzimtzum, a divine contraction, a pulling back of infinite light to make space for creation. This means that life itself is built on the dance between fullness and longing, between having and desiring. Desire is not greed, it's divine motion. When you stop desiring, you step out of the creative current. Saying, "I don't need anything else," is like telling the universe, "I am done participating." The flow doesn't stop because the source dries up. It stops because you stop asking. The cup remains half full, the river still runs, but you've walked away from its edge. I once met a woman named Leah. After years of struggle, she finally reached stability. Steady income, peaceful home, routine days. When I asked her what she wanted next, she smiled and said, "Honestly, I don't need anything else." It sounded beautiful. But a few months later, she began to feel restless, tired, unmotivated. Her relationships dulled, her business plateaued. She told me she didn't understand why life felt dim. I reminded her, when you tell the light you need nothing, it stops knocking. There's a fine line between gratitude and surrender. Gratitude says, "I love what I have." Surrender says, "I refuse to reach further." One opens the door wider, the other quietly locks it. And this is why this third phrase is the most dangerous. It disguises fear as peace. Many people say, "I don't need anything else," not because they are fulfilled, but because they fear disappointment. It's safer to pretend contentment than to risk wanting again. Psychologically, this phrase conditions your brain for scarcity disguised as satisfaction. It tells your mind there's no need to imagine, no reason to innovate, no point in stretching. Spiritually, it signals the universe to stop expanding your circle. Life respects your boundaries, even the ones you unconsciously set. But here lies the redemption. If words have the power to limit, they also have the power to release. The same lips that said, "I don't need anything else," can say, "I'm grateful and I'm open." That small shift changes everything, because when you change your language, you change your energy. And when you change your energy, your destiny begins to move again. Now, it's time to replace these 3 phrases with something far more powerful. 3 words that reopen the channels of blessing and bring movement back into your life. Now that we've stripped away the 3 phrases that block abundance, it's time to plant new ones. Words that open, expand, and realign you with the current of blessing. In ancient wisdom, the spoken word is both seed and signal. What you speak becomes what you summon. So today I want to offer you a new formula, one built on 3 simple words that can quietly transform your income, your confidence, and your sense of divine connection. Grateful, receiving, expanding. These 3 words are more than affirmations, they're directions. Each carries a vibration that tells life how to move through you. Grateful anchors you in the present. Gratitude doesn't deny what you lack, it celebrates what you have. It says, I recognize the gift of this moment. When you say grateful, your energy shifts from scarcity to abundance. The mind opens, the heart softens, and that softening is what allows more to flow in. Receiving is the bridge. It's not passive, it's permission. Many people are good at giving, striving, working, but they resist receiving. They feel unworthy of increase, uncomfortable with success, afraid of being seen. But receiving is not greed, it's cooperation with divine order. To receive is to say, I am available for what is already mine. The sages teach that blessings exist in potential long before we see them. Our job is simply to make space. Expanding is the motion of the soul. It says, I am not finished. Not in the restless sense, but in the eternal rhythm of becoming. To expand means to honor growth as holy, to accept that life's purpose is not perfection, it's evolution. When you say expanding, you're not rejecting the present, you're stretching it. You're making room for what's next. Together, these words create a cycle, grateful for what is, open to what comes, growing into what will be. If you want to integrate this into your life, here's something simple but powerful. Set an alarm at 9 in the morning that repeats daily with the message, grateful, receiving, expanding. When it rings, pause for 10 seconds, take a deep breath, whisper the words with intention. Feel them move through your body. Notice how your chest rises on receiving, how your heart expands on expanding. It may feel small, even strange, but consistency is the language of creation. The more you say it, the more your life aligns to its rhythm. And here's why it works. You're retraining the inner script that's been running in silence for years. You're replacing I'm fine with I'm grateful. You're replacing I've arrived with I'm expanding. You're replacing I don't need anything else with I'm receiving what's meant for me. Say it often enough and you'll feel it begin to shape reality itself. Because the universe is fluent in vibration and gratitude, openness, and growth are its native tongue. Now let me show you what happens when real people change their words, and how their lives, their income, and their light begin to change too. I want to tell you about a woman named Lucia. She lived most of her life saying, I can't complain. To her, it was a badge of humility, a way to sound grateful while not asking for too much. But under that phrase hid exhaustion, quiet frustration, and a deep fear of wanting more. When we first spoke, her small business was barely surviving. She was doing everything right, at least from the outside, marketing, saving, praying. Yet nothing moved. I asked her to describe her daily routine and she said, I wake up, tell myself I'm fine, and I keep going. I smiled gently and said, that's exactly the problem. At first she resisted. You think my words can change my income? She asked. I nodded. Not just your words, the energy behind them. I asked her to try something for 7 days. Every morning, before checking her phone or turning on the lights, she had to say out loud, thank God, I am growing. She agreed, half skeptical. The first few days felt awkward, forced. But by the 5th morning, she told me something had shifted. She felt lighter. A sense of quiet excitement had returned. By the end of that month, she had new clients. Within 3 months, her income had doubled. Did the words cause the income? In part, Yes. But more importantly, they changed her. They lifted her energy, adjusted her vibration, tuned her frequency to something that attracts instead of repels. As she spoke differently, she began to see differently. Possibilities that were once invisible became visible. She stopped saying, "I can't complain," and started saying, "I'm grateful, and I'm growing." Her life began to move again because her language did. There was also Raphael, a man who had built a successful company only to lose motivation once he reached stability. He often said, "I don't need anything else." When I asked him why, he said, "Because I don't want to be greedy." I told him, "Growth isn't greed, it's gratitude in motion." I challenged him to replace that phrase with, "I'm receiving and expanding." He laughed, but he tried it. 6 weeks later, he wrote to me, "Something strange happened. My team feels more inspired. New partnerships came out of nowhere. It's like the moment I opened my mouth differently, life started listening again." These stories aren't coincidences. They're reflections of an ancient truth. The energy of words is the architecture of destiny. When your speech aligns with movement, movement returns to you. And here's the most powerful part. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, spiritual, or simply human. The energy of words transcends belief systems. You don't need to convert to ancient wisdom to live by it. You just need to remember it. Because the same divine current that moved through our ancestors still moves through us today, waiting for permission to flow. And that permission begins in the mouth, in the smallest sound you dare to say differently. But before we close, we need to look deeper, beyond words and stories, into the very philosophy of prosperity itself. The foundation of Jewish prosperity is not luck, not labor, and not even money. It's language. In the book of Genesis, creation begins not with motion, but with speech. And God said, "Let there be light." Words shaped the first dawn, defined form from formlessness, and separated what is from what is not. That same principle flows through every human soul. Our words build the worlds we live in. Every time we speak, we echo that act of creation. To say, "I am," is to spark existence. To say, "I can't," is to dim it. The sages believed that to misuse language was to misuse power because the mouth is a gateway. What leaves it becomes law in the unseen. That's why blessings are recited aloud. It's not ceremony, it's activation. When you say, "I'm grateful, I'm receiving, I'm expanding," you are not chanting empty affirmations. You are aligning yourself with the divine pattern of expansion itself. You're speaking in the same rhythm through which the universe breathes, giving, opening, growing. And prosperity, in the Jewish view, is not excess, it's alignment. To prosper is to flow in harmony with divine order, to receive and circulate blessing, to become a vessel through which goodness moves freely. My great-grandfather used to say, "God never rewards the hand that closes." He meant that abundance is not about hoarding, it's about becoming a bridge. When money, opportunity, or blessing passes through you, it multiplies. When it stops with you, it stagnates. That's why speaking words of openness matters so deeply. They keep you in the current. And it isn't only spiritual. Psychologically, when you use language of movement, your brain releases energy to match it. Your awareness sharpens, your curiosity expands, and you begin to notice chances that were invisible before. This is not magic, it's design. The words you repeat most become the filters through which your reality appears. So here's a choice I invite you to make right now. Remain in the vocabulary of stillness, or step into the language of expansion. I'm fine, or I'm grateful. I've arrived, or I'm growing. I don't need anything else, or I'm open to what's next. Every option builds a different world around you. If you're willing, test this for 7 days. Speak your new formula daily, morning and night. Watch how conversations shift, how opportunities stir, how your energy subtly rearranges itself. Don't force it, just observe. Because when you change the word, you change the world it lives in. Jewish prosperity isn't about chasing wealth. It's about remembering that you were never separate from it. Blessing is not given, it's revealed. And words are the key that unlocks what was always waiting. But there's one final truth, one last blessing that ties all of this together. A reminder that language is sacred, that gratitude is power, and that your next phrase might just rewrite your future. So what have we uncovered together? 3 small phrases that seemed harmless but quietly shaped our destiny. I'm fine. I've arrived. I don't need anything else. Each one a subtle wall, built not of bricks but of breath, spoken without thought yet powerful enough to confine a life. And 3 new words that tear those walls down. Grateful, receiving, expanding. That's the shift. That's the difference between a life that pauses and a life that moves. Between existence and creation. Between silence and song. Every time you choose those new words, you are performing a sacred act. You are not simply thinking positive. You are engaging in the same mystery that spoke light into the void. You are echoing the first voice of creation. When you speak gratitude, you honor what already exists. When you speak receiving, you align with what is on its way. When you speak expansion, you join the rhythm of divine growth. I've watched people transform through this truth. I've seen the quiet worker who began to whisper, "Thank God I'm growing," and suddenly found doors opening where there had been only walls. I've seen the weary mother who replaced "I'm fine" with "I'm becoming," and felt joy return to her home. The change doesn't come overnight. It comes word by word, phrase by phrase, until your language becomes your liberation. If you've followed this journey, you already feel the difference. There's a spark of recognition within you, a small, bright knowing that says, "This is true." That is the voice of your soul remembering how powerful it really is. So here is my closing invitation. Don't let this be a passing insight. Speak it into your days. When you wake, say aloud, "Grateful, receiving, expanding." Let the words meet the morning air. Let them guide the rhythm of your steps. At night, before sleep, repeat them again so they echo through your dreams. Watch how the world begins to shift, not because the universe suddenly changes, but because you do. And as we close this chapter, I want to leave you with the ancient blessing that my great-grandfather spoke over our family every Friday evening. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Carry those words with you. Let them remind you that peace is not the absence of motion. It's the harmony within it. You were made to grow, to receive, to expand. Now, if this message stirred something in you, share it. Share it with 3 people who need to remember their power. Let this wisdom ripple forward, multiplying through the words of others. Because the truth is, there are still hidden phrases waiting to be uncovered. Words even older, deeper, more potent than these. And in the next journey, we'll explore them. The 4 sacred words that don't just attract income, but multiply it.